For one final time in pre-season, the reigning and record German title holders FC Bayern München are taking to the pitch for a pre-season friendly, their final opponent in what we like to call here in Germany a dress rehearsal. That is French opposition Monaco, and Adi Hütter, a familiar face for Bundesliga fans who will remember him from his time with Frankfurt and Borussia Mönchengladbach. There are some familiar faces in the Monaco ranks, but that will matter little to Thomas Tuchel and co. He has one last chance to see his side, his players in action as they look to stake a claim for more playing time this season, giving him a chance to take a look at maybe what his lineup will look like on match day one. But likely will feature a few changes. Thomas Müller, one of the players unavailable due to injury today. But let's go through the starting lineups for both teams while the players go through their customary pre-match handshakes. We've got Sven Ulreich in goal, sporting that new pink kit. Joshua Kimmich not in the starting lineup today. Instead, it's Leon Goretzka that captains the side, partnering Konrad Laimer in midfield. Laimer has played in every single pre-match or pre-season friendly, starting all of them. Strong back line, Mazraoui, Min-jae Kim, Benjamin Pavard, Alphonso Davies, Gnabry, Musiala, Coman, Tell is a four-man front line that could feature in the Bundesliga this season. Nice message from the referee, Robert Hartmann, that no one gets injured because, let's be honest, the result is important today, but not as important as some of the things that the likes of Adi Hütter and Thomas Tuchel are looking to see from their side in terms of being in rhythm, being in flow ahead of the new season. A look at the Monaco starting lineup. Philipp Köhn in goal, the man formerly of Red Bull Salzburg. Keep your eye on Wassim Ben Yedder, Takuni, Minamino up front as well. They are the danger men. Kevin Volland has been seen here at the Sport Park Unterhaching, where today's game is being held, not at the Allianz Arena, instead a little further north of Munich, in a small ground that holds just over 15,000. Just over 15,000 that are looking to see the likes of Jamal Musiala and Bayern's star-studded cast in action one final time before the competitive fixtures get underway. It is the visitors Monaco who get us underway here in what is Bayern München's final pre-season friendly of the summer before the competitive action gets underway when Bayern take on RB Leipzig next Saturday, the 12th of August in the DFL Super Cup. It has been a solid pre-season for the German record title holders. It all started with a 27-0 win against 9th tier side Rotach Egen. They then went on their Audi Football Summit touring Asia. They lost 2-1 against Manchester City, the treble winners from last season and European champions. They won 1-0 against Kawasaki Frontale and then rounded it all off in Singapore with a 4-3 win against Liverpool. They're looking to maintain that winning form in this, their final run out before they get the competitive season underway. And a lovely touch there from Musiala. Gnabry and Coman bearing down on goal. And well, it's a firm save for Philipp Köhn early doors as Bayern spring the counter-attack. Something we're not used to seeing from them, but it all moves so quickly. Noussair Mazraoui heavily involved in the build-up. It then went through Jamal Musiala. Little flick around the corner for Serge Gnabry. Man who was in fine form towards the back end of last season, played a big role in Bayern ultimately getting that title win over the line on match day 34 against Köln. Here he is with the corner. Not flicked on, doesn't beat the first man. Mathis Tel was attacking. Gnabry to take again with Kimmich not on the pitch. Better one this time. Good flick on from Mathys Tel. There were just no takers at the back post. But Bayern were beaten by corners of that type of variation a couple of times last season in terms of a man making a darting run from the 6-yard box to the near post. Getting that flick on. Maybe something Thomas Tuchel is looking to add to their bow this season in terms of their attacking threats. Nice ball round the corner. But Benjamin Pavard across to cover. Mazraoui. Neat work again from Noussair Mazraoui. Tel came deep, lost out under pressure, but Bayern come away with it. Jamal Musiala now dances past the challenge and draws the foul. Mohamed Kamara. Not quite getting the timing of the challenge right on that occasion. Not happy with the foul going against him. Well, there is Adi Hutter looking to turn a new leaf with Monaco in France after a bit of a sour end to his time in Germany. Musiala finding Gnabry, looking for that first-time pass into feet for Mathys Tel. Telegraphed by the Monaco backline, but Bayern, you have to say, we have had just under 4 minutes played, but looking very sharp. Not a lot of time spent on the ball individually. Instead, they're looking to move it quickly, establish an early rhythm. Goretzka facing the wrong way. Can't quite work the handles to his advantage against Kamara, but neat little turn there, does release the pressure. Now with Konrad Laimer. Right idea, wrong execution, just caught Serge Gnabry on his heels there. And Monaco last season finishing 6th in Liga. Outside of the European places, which disappointing for a club with their aspiration level and also given how talented their squad is. Musiala. Incredible balance and guile to drift past his markers. Now with Kingsley Coman. Unfavoured left foot. It's a very good shape on the cross there, and Gnabry and Tel were both loitering, ready to pounce at the back post perhaps. An important intervention in the end though from Christian Maxima. But already Bayern starting to establish the early pressure here in Unterhaching. Gnabry, that's right into the heart of the 6-yard box, and Köln had to act, punch and clear. Monaco unable to complete their clearance though, and Bayern and Davies still in possession, forced to retreat momentarily. Well, Mathys Tel, he was just signalling for the run in behind. Min-jae Kim didn't quite spot him. Was a wonderful pass from Kim in the game against Liverpool. The fact is, he looks to have settled in really quickly since joining from Napoli. Right now, Konrad Laimer under pressure. Didn't really get the call or the support there needed. There you go, there's one of those line-splitting passes from Min-jae Kim. Big competition for places in that centre-back role. Pavard, De Ligt, Kim, Upamecano all have their sights set on a starting berth at the heart of Bayern's backline. Only 2 of those 4 can claim a spot though. Davies wanted it long, didn't get it. Oh, neat little turn though from the Canadian. Minamino thought about clipping the heels, thought better of it. Goretzka now with a pocket of space to work with. He's got runners ahead of him. One of them is Serge Gnabry! And his first touch in the end maybe just let him down at the vital moment. Köln off his line to close the angle. Wonderful, fluid play there from Bayern. Maybe just a slip at the vital moment instead from Gnabry. Normally you'd see him attempt to lift that over the keeper. His footing preventing him from doing so on that occasion. But I tell you what, a couple of occasions already in these opening exchanges when Bayern have clicked into gear, my goodness, don't they look menacing. Commentators curse almost as they then give the ball away sloppily. Monaco unable to capitalise. Alexander Golovin. It does look like Sven Ulreich will be the man between the sticks when the competitive action gets underway for Bayern on Saturday against RB Leipzig, the DFB Pokal winners in the DFL Super Cup, the game that pits the league winners against the cup winners. Leipzig now back-to-back cup winners. Bayern, of course, 11 straight Bundesliga titles won now. Shaping up and looking for number 12 in a row this season. It's well cut out in midfield. Konrad Laimer, Serge Gnabry in tandem. Couldn't quite go through the gears there. Laimer scampering back to recover. Minamino now against Min Jae Kim. Just let that ball out there. Bayern wanted it. Monaco got it. Stop in play for the time being, though, after a collision off the ball. Robert Hartmann, the referee, just bringing it back for a moment. His message before the game was no injuries or to stay injury-free. Thomas Müller still nursing a bit of an injury and a doubt for the DFL Super Cup. There we just see Leon Goretzka. Pretty hard coming together there in midfield, and Goretzka, let's be honest, he's built like a bit of a brick, isn't he? Up against Fofana. Got the wind knocked out of him. Hopefully nothing more than that, though. Get to revisit the chance. We've had one built down the right wing with Noussair Mazraoui, the other with Alphonso Davies. And I do think if Serge Gnabry's first touch there is just a little bit better, he's not stretching for that in the end. It's a more under-control shot, and therefore we might have been talking about the opening goal for Bayern. But I have to say, what we've seen from them so far, very promising. A couple of gaps at the back. Monaco looking to exploit. And that might just be on account of Goretzka, Laimer trying to find that balance in their midfield partnership. Ooh, well, Goretzka collided with Fofana a second ago. Now Kamara takes out Goretzka. Well, Kamara's gone down as well, but I have to say, that looked like a big elbow. Oh, yeah, I mean, that's a forearm right across the face of Goretzka. A very unwieldy challenge in the air from Mohamed Kamara, who is also feeling the effects, but look at where he's holding. He's holding his elbow, mainly because that was the part of his body that collided with the face of Leon Goretzka, who is made of very stern stuff, it has to be said, the man captaining Bayern today. Maybe just a show of faith from Thomas Tuchel, who has had to face a lot of questions about the conundrum he faces in picking a midfield partnership. Joshua Kimmich, Konrad Laimer, Leon Goretzka. Some enviable options at his disposal. That's not even to mention Ryan Gravenberch, Rafael Guerrero, Jamal Musiala, who can all play in those positions as well. Of course, Marcel Sabitzer has now moved on and joined Borussia Dortmund. A couple of big names leaving the club this summer. Sabitzer, Sadio Mane. Shame to see the Senegalese striker go. And now Kingsley Coman. Oh, well, he got past his man. And Kamara, who just collided with Goretzka, now bundles over Coman in the box. Didn't get anywhere near the ball, but Bayern staying on the front foot. Tell trying to keep the chance alive here. Bayern don't get the corner. Tell asking questions, but do you see there, Kamara did get a touch on the ball. It was a hefty coming together. It was a 50-50, but he got ball before man, so fair challenge. In the end, it did look worse on first viewing, I have to say. so accustomed to seeing Kingsley Coman operating on the left wing. Interesting choice from Thomas Tuchel to put him on the right, Serge Gnabry on the left. Not quite the inverted wingers that we're accustomed to seeing from Bayern. Nevertheless, Kingsley Coman is someone that can do damage on either wing. Fair to say so too is Serge Gnabry. What a wing pairing that is. Leroy Sané on the bench today. Musiala. Guy just keeps them guessing, doesn't he? And then he bursts away from three. Plays the pass to Mazraoui. He wants it back from Mazraoui. Goes to Coman instead. Mazraoui continues his run. Closed down by two. Trying to work it in tight spaces, but does so well to find Musiala, who then loses out in the 50-50. Well, he is just a delightful player to watch at times, Jamal Musiala. And I tell you what, if he doesn't get the Golden Boy award, I will be mightily surprised. The award that gets given to the best young player from the previous campaign. And it is believed that the decision is basically between Jamal Musiala and Jude Bellingham. My argument for Jamal Musiala would be that Jude Bellingham didn't score a title-winning goal in a clutch situation late on matchday 34. I'll hold the thought now for now, though, because Tell fires one across goal. Kern felt he had to act. Gnabry can't get on the end of the loose ball. Calls of easy. This is the final pre-season game of the summer. This is the final chance to brush off the cobwebs and for these players to show Thomas Tuchel, this is what I bring to the table in your system that we've been working on all summer. In fact, as he does seem to have given a few fringe players a chance to stake that claim here today in the final competitive fixture. Well, that is a booming voice to compete with, I have to say, as a match commentator. You love to hear it. Just over 15,000 can fit inside the Sportpark Unterhaching. Not quite sold out on account of one of the stands behind Sven Ulreich's goals being closed, but nevertheless, another wonderful opportunity to come and see these star players in action for some of the fans that maybe don't get to go to the Allianz Arena all too often throughout the season. Laimer battling away as we become so used to seeing from him. Davies gives the ball away cheaply though, and a chance here for Monaco. Their first real sight of goal is a half-hearted chance. Takumi Minamino, former Liverpool and Salzburg winger. Player that has come up against Bayern a couple of occasions in his career with those two clubs. Unable to work all right from the angle, and now Coman going down the other end. In behind the last man. Cuts his run, looking for Musiala to tee up on the edge of the area, and wise to take a touch just to settle himself, the youngster there. But it also gave Monaco's players a chance just to close the angles, and the block made behind for a corner. Bayern are probing and asking the question of this Monaco side. And you've got to say, if you're looking for who is more likely to score the opening goal right now, you'd say it's Bayern as the corner comes in. Ooh! Tell with a neat little flick at the near post. Would have been glorious had it gone in. Instead, it's behind for another corner. Interesting to see Gnabry and Kimmich, the two corner takers, in the absence of Joshua Kimmich. Both in swingers. That's a better delivery. Oh, just needed a touch. Gnabry Tries to pounce on the loose ball. Bayern do come away with it. Laimer can reset to Davies out wide. Davies. Bayern working it nicely, being patient. Davies, the start of the summer, did talk about the fact that when he joined Bayern, he joined as an advanced winger. He then got converted to a left back, but that ultimately he wouldn't say no to playing in a more advanced position on occasion. He does have a wonderful relationship with many of the players that play down the left in terms of the way they dovetail. Right now, Gnabry has actually stayed a little deeper to play the left back role, allowing Davies to venture forward. It's those types of moments that you'll see throughout the 90 minutes for Bayern. But with Rafael Guerreiro joining the club, there is a chance that Davies might actually get his wish and that Guerreiro plays at left back. The man signed from Borussia Dortmund in the summer, rejoining forces with Thomas Tuchel. And Monaco, when you look at their pre-season encounters, recently played out a 1-1 draw with Premier League runners-up Arsenal in the Emirates Cup. They lost on penalties in the end. A 1-1 draw is certainly not a result to turn your nose up at against a side like Arsenal, who have the ambitions they had. Of course, Community Shield winners on the weekend after another dramatic penalty shootout against Manchester City, and a dramatic ending to that game with Arsenal scoring in the 101st minute of that match. Monaco playing the same colours, not to be mistaken for the Gunners though. First time we've seen Monaco able to combine with good effect. Oh, that's a cheeky pass to Ben Yedder, and he stings the palms of Ulreich. Davies tries to sweep clear, wasn't convincing. Goretzka's there to sweep up though. Davies again, not a great clearance. Minamino keeping the chance alive, and it's sent wide in the end. Fofana unable to do what Ben Yedder did in testing Ulreich, but you have to say Ben Yedder, a player of his finishing prowess, would have fancied his chances of doing better with that opportunity. In the end, straight at Ulreich. Chance from the set piece now though for the French side. Pavard closing the door on that cross. Well, Musiala's going to take this one away. Everyone's gotten pinned in a little on that far side. Bayern trying to make the press count as Goretzka does squeeze it out in the end. It's very intimate ground, which is why you can hear so many children, and let's be honest, adults as well, shouting the names of some of their favourite players whenever they come close. For many, this might be a once-in-a-lifetime experience. It's not to be taken for granted, being able to come out and see Bayern up close and personal like this. Musiala there, caught by Mohamed Kamara, who really, I tell you what, he is making his presence felt, isn't he, in midfield? I think that's almost every Bayern midfielder now that he's put a challenge in on. Kevin Volland, former 1860 Munich youth product, so a familiar face in this part of Germany. Used to be on the books with Hoffenheim and Bayer Leverkusen as well. Certainly won himself a few fans in Monaco for his performances since joining from Die Werkself. Something tells me we might see him in action in the second half at some point as well. Min-Jae Kim, commanding interception. Coman, yeah, got his heels clipped there. Now for Bayern, it was a very dominant opening start to this game. Monaco have come back into it a little bit, having a little bit more of the ball, showing a little bit more attacking intent and threat as a result. Nevertheless, haven't really done much other than that chance for Wissam Ben Yedder to truly trouble this Bayern backline and give them reason for pause. Davies there, when we talk so much about his pace, the leap on him there was just as impressive. Basketballer-esque from Alphonso Davies there to win the header in the air. Oh, lovely play from Bayern. They were taking some liberties at the back with some of the risky passes, but when it pays off, look at what it can produce. They had Monaco stretched. They haven't quite been able to keep themselves on that accelerator there. Laimer returning possession. But that's it, Bayern. You can see that they're taking some risks at the back. They're inviting the pressure from Monaco. But it's all with the intent of breaking the press. And when they do break the press, then going through the gears very quickly, adopting quite a vertical approach to their build-up play. And you have to say, it looks dangerous when they get going, when they have those opportunities to really pounce. Monaco have been caught at 6s and 7s and perhaps a little lucky not to have been punished for some questionable defending at times. That, a questionable pass. They get away with it, though. Only momentarily is Musiala now with the turn. Tell wants it. It goes to Kingsley Coman, though. And in the end, it was the wrong pass. He had two options, went the wrong one there, Musiala, but you can forgive him that, given how often he does make the right decision. Look there at the Bayern bosses. Hasn't been the easiest of summers for them either, given some of the turbulence off the pitch. But they're hoping for smoother waters in the current campaign, now that Oliver Kahn and Hassan Salihamidzic have left the club. Goretzka finding Davies. Let's go Bayern, fight and win. That's the message from those in attendance. Here's one of those situations where in a game like this, you'd have loved to have a pre-match press conference with Thomas Tuchel to ask him what he's looking to see from his side. Right now, Tell looking for the early pass, but, well, you have to say, well read there by Philip Kern, the Monaco goalkeeper. He spotted the danger, cut it out. Good idea, though, from Matthijs Tell to move it quickly, because Monaco were stretched with him in behind. You just got to wonder as well whether Matthijs Tell, with Eric Maxim Choupo-Moting still sidelined today through injury, just like Thomas Müller, whether Matthijs Tell is making a push here for a starting berth at the start of the season. 18 years old now. Min-jae Kim, oh. What a tiny, tiny challenge from the South Korean. So much to enjoy about his game, isn't there? The composure, above all. His ability to spot a pass, break the lines. The ability to read the play. The fact that he has covered so much ground as well. Look, he was just on this side of the pitch winning the ball. Now he's on the opposite side. Once again, well, not winning the ball, but happy to see it go out of play for a goal kick. But you can see why Bayern were willing to put up a fair bit of cash for Min-jae Kim on the back of Luka Hernandez leaving the club. Oh, commentator's curse, but all right to the rescue. Oh, Min-jae Kim thought he had just had his first horror moment there in a Bayern shirt. But Sven Ulreich stood tall and said, I've got your back. Monaco haven't given up on the chance. Minamino now, oh, there is the opener. Oh, it's cruel it came when they repelled the first advances, but Monaco have broken the deadlock. And it is Takumi Minamino that just before the half-hour mark gives Monaco the lead, but this is where it all started. I've just been praising him as well. I mean, so typical of the situation, is it? He gave the ball away so cheaply, Min-jae Kim. You have to say, Golovin should have finished. Did well, did Sven Ulreich to keep out that initial shot, but when the ball came back and Bayern was still disorganised, it actually pushed up the other end looking to counter. So they were even more stretched at the back when the ball came to Minamino. Spotted the bottom corner, he picked out the bottom corner. And as a result, it is Bayern 0, Monaco 1 now here at the Sportpark Unterhaching. But that, I tell you, it happens every now and again as a commentator, and you hate it when it does, but that's one of the worst strokes of commentator curses I've ever seen and ever experienced in my career. But now the break is on. 4-on-4. It's Musiala, Gnabry, Tell and Mazraoui. Gnabry gets it back to Musiala! Almost an immediate response from Bayern, but Musiala opens up his foot just a touch too much. Not much more he could have done with that chance, Jamal Musiala. Man who scored 16 goals and provided 16 assists in all competitions last season, making just under 50 appearances. I was saying earlier, I'd love to know what Thomas Tuchel was looking to see from his side in a game like this, because in some respects, the result is secondary. We talk about automatisms or automatismen in Germany. When things flow instinctually, it's muscle memory almost, but in terms of the shape and the passing angles that a team can use, he'll be looking for Bayern just to smooth out some of the edges that have been seen in pre-season. But I can tell you, one of the things he definitely won't have wanted to see was a moment like that from Min-jae Kim. A really big individual error in the build-up play that is so costly in front of goal. Goretzka going down again. Bayern have won the ball well in an advanced area. Laimer, 1-2. Laimer still going. Oh, it's a good finish in the end. Top corner. Konrad Laimer says thank you very much. And Bayern are level once again. Well, just like Bayern, Monaco inviting the German reigning and record title holders to have a go. Playing themselves under pressure. Not breaking the press. Goretzka, you have to say, did well. This was a lovely 1-2 between Laimer and Musiala. Just when he thought Laimer had given up on the chance, perhaps he was maybe going to pick his head up and try and find a teammate, he instead went, you know what? I'll pick out the top corner instead. And well, didn't he do just that? Fine strike from Konrad Laimer, who I think it's fair to say during this pre-season has given Bayern fans a real taste of what's to come now that he's in a Bayern shirt. And I tell you what we've seen is enough to get very excited about what Konrad Laimer brings to the table. He has talked about being comfortable anywhere in the field. When asked about the level of competition in midfield for Bayern, he said, "You need competition to perform at your best level." But he also said it didn't feel to him or Kimmich or Goretzka like they were all competing against each other. Not necessarily, he said, the battle between the three of us is more a topic for the media. He said, we're all here to have the best possible success as a team. And that does mean contributing at different times. It may mean that someone takes priority in a lineup over the course of a couple of games. But that ultimately Goretzka, Kimmich and Laimer are all going to have a big part to play in Bayern's success story this season. Fair to say Monaco have definitely grown in confidence since taking the lead, even despite the equaliser. Now Ben Yedder trying to find the goal scorer Minamino, but Davies had the pace there to get in front of his man and quell the threat. Fofana, he's his shot blocked. Come on, a cheap giveaway. Fofana, confident clearance from Kim. Just over 10 minutes remaining until half-time. Very competitive encounter between the two. Lot to like in the Bayern performance, but for one moment, Min-jae Kim with his first big individual mistake and hopefully one of his last in a Bayern shirt. The man signed from Napoli this summer, a title winner with Diego Maradona's former team. Celebrations were wild, it has to be said. But it was their first title in a very, very long time for Bayern. A title at the end of last season was their 11th in a row. It's well worked. Gnabry finding Musiala in a pocket of space. He moves it on to Laimer. Laimer finding Mazraoui. They've got players lined up in the middle now. Kingsley Coman. Kingsley Coman still. Played into the more congested central areas instead. Davies easily beats his man for pace. The foot race between him and Mohamed Salah in the game between Liverpool and Bayern was mouth-watering, it has to be said. It was a shame that it only happened once in the game, but it was great to see. And you can even see Mohamed Salah's surprise at just how quick Davies is now. He just ate up the ground. Mohamed Salah is no slouch in the pace department. Oh, Minamino took a touch when a first-time pass would have caused Bayern a world of issues. Van Lissen wanted it, the right wing-back, and just didn't get it. It's very clear to see that Thomas Tuchel has asked his players not to resort to long balls, but to try and find these creative solutions, even in tight spaces in their back line. But as I say, when it works, look how much space it opens up and look how threatening they are when they're streaming forward. Bayern, okay, on that occasion, the Davies pass didn't quite come out, but when they find the moment, they clearly are looking for a moment to spring into life going forward. Patient, neat little passes at the back, probing that midfield, looking for spaces to exploit. But when they absorb the press that's coming at them and sit a little deeper, it gives them a little bit more room to work with. It does seem to be a facet of their approach under Thomas Tuchel. He'd made such a heroic save before that effort from Takumi Minamino, Sven Ulreich, that it's almost a disappointing moment to see him concede just minutes later. But you have to say that goal from Konrad Laimer. Very neat finish from the midfielder. Here he is on the ball. Gnabry leaves it to Davies. And Davies is so fast, he's gone over the hoardings at the back. Back over now. Tongue-in-cheek moment there for the Canadian. Davies is still out of position and just noticing he has been a bit slow to get back now, Alphonso Davies, so I hope he hasn't picked up any sort of knock from that tumble over the advertising. Easily dealt with by the Bayern backline. We've only been tested on a couple of occasions so far in this first half. Of course, Min-Jae Kim still getting to know his new centre-back partners, let alone Sven Ulreich, his new goalkeeper. These things do take time, as talented as players are, and there's no doubting that Min-Jae Kim is very talented. I mean, let's say the four options that Thomas Tuchel has to choose from at centre-back, I mean, are wonderful. Benjamin Pavard, Dayot Upamecano, World Cup winners with France. Min-Jae Kim, Serie A winner with Napoli last season. Matthijs de Ligt seen as one of, if not the best young centre-backs in world football, and has been seen that way for a couple of years now, actually. The former Golden Boy winner. That's a lovely turn from Coman, and he just skips away. Gnabry. Davies does well there. Spotted the pass, intercepted, keeps Bayern on the front foot here with Kingsley Coman, who's now drifted wide after that run. Looking to link up with Davies. Neat play by Davies. Musiala. Oh, Musiala! Oh, he's absolutely glorious. From Jamal Musiala. Bambi's dancing feet devastate a backline once again. And Bayern complete the first half comeback here. They fell behind, but have now turned the game on its head to lead 2-1 before half-time. And Jamal Musiala has been delightful to watch all afternoon. Gets his just rewards, but this was magnificent to behold. No one wanted to put a foot in. The close control, the deft touches, and then the finishing touch. everything in a nutshell that you've got to love about Jamal Musiala and the way he plays football. He is a golden boy for Bayern, whether he gets the title or not. But few players more deserving than the young 20-year-old. Well, if you're going to fall behind to a goal in the manner in which Bayern did when it stemmed from such a costly individual mistake, I think the very least that Thomas Tuchel will have been expecting from his side was a response that underlined their mentality, their character. And it's fair to say we've definitely gotten that, because they had a dominant opening here. It was a bit of a setback. They have responded in kind and are good value for their 2-1 lead as we approach the break. It's a lovely ball out wide to pick out Kingsley Coman. Sends another long cross, but that's too long. Did they have a third goal in them before the break here? Jamal Musiala is off the bar. Well, it should have been 3-1. He should have doubled up. Didn't have a lot of real estate to work with in terms of the goal in front of him, but the woodwork still rattling from that effort from Jamal Musiala. Now Konrad Laimer has won a free kick in a promising position for Bayern. I tell you what, Monaco, they may have taken the lead, but they have awoken the beast a little bit here in Unterhaching. Cheeky nutmeg from Mazraoui, and I tell you what, Jamal Musiala really didn't have a lot to pick out there. It may have actually taken a deflection on its way through as well. So Joshua Kimmich normally has his name all over free kicks from these types of positions. It's this time instead Goretzka and Davies. Goretzka wants it. It's off the wall, and it does force a save out of Kern. Goretzka claiming a handball in the mix. Oh, and actually, has the referee pointed to the spot here? I think he has. Robert Hartmann, the referee, has awarded Bayern a penalty in, well, one of the perhaps easier decisions he's going to have to make this season, because what is that elbow doing up there? Ngutu Magasa. You have to ask questions. It's just silly. It's one thing to block your face. It's another thing to have your elbow almost above your head like that, when you consider that these free kick takers are trying to get it as close to the top of that wall as possible as they get it over. But now the free kick was momentarily repelled. It's Serge Gnabry from the spot to make it 3-1 to Bayern, which is what will likely be the last kick of the first half. Gnabry strikes, and it is 3-1 to Bayern. Kern guessed right, but couldn't get there. It was a fine penalty from Serge Gnabry. 17 goals last season in all competitions. And he'd like to pick up that goal-scoring form again next season. He's been good in pre-season. Again, Magasa there. Problem is, by doing that, you're just inviting the referee to do what Robert Hartmann did in deciding against the Monaco defender there. Just not the smartest move. And Monaco, who took the lead in this game, are now going in at half-time with a 3-1 deficit. You have to be patient for the opening goal, but as I say, Monaco, in taking the lead, really did awake the Bayern beast a little bit. And there goes the half-time whistle. The comeback complete for Bayern in the first half after going behind to that effort from Takumi Minamino. Konrad Laimer sparked the comeback. He levelled the scores. Jamal Musiala danced his way to a delightful second goal before Serge Gnabry rounded out the scoring in the first half from the spot. As a result, at the break, it is Bayern 3, Monaco 1. Join us again shortly for the second half. Hello and welcome back, one and all, to the Sport Park in Unterhaching today, playing host to Bayern München's final pre-season friendly of the summer. And as you can see, all smiles in the Bayern ranks, because coming into the second half against Liga side Monaco, they have a 3-1 lead that they are working with, and Thomas Tuchel has made a change at half-time. You can see Matthijs de Ligt coming on at the start of the second half, a man that will likely be in the starting lineup on match day 1 in the Bundesliga against Bremen, or in the Super Cup against Leipzig on the weekend. Waiting to see exactly who he has replaced. It'll be either Benjamin Pavard or Min Jae Kim. Min Jae Kim may be the player dropped out of the squad right now, just on account of the fact that he had a bit of a moment to forget in the first half, a red-faced moment where took his eyes off the ball for a split second, a misplaced pass straight to the feet of Alexander Golovin, but instead, as you see there, it is Benjamin Pavard who makes way. Wonder whether that'll see Min Jae Kim move into the right-hand side of the two centre-backs with Matthijs de Ligt on his left, or whether Kim will stay on the left-hand side. As we see, as a second change as well, Leroy Sané coming on to replace Jamal Musiala, who scored a wonderful goal in the first half, had some incredible moments, using those wonderful, magical dancing feet of his to skip past markers. But he did look like he picked up a knock at the end of the first half on the ankle, and as a result, maybe a precautionary measure as he's brought off to be replaced by Leroy Sané. Well, Bayern are looking to make it 4 wins out of a possible 5 as we end pre-season. At the end of a nice, quiet summer by Bayern standards in recent years. Thomas Tuchel, with his first pre-season in charge of Bayern as head coach, trying to get his ideas across, trying to get his approach across to his players so that they can mount another offensive in 3 competitions next season. He took over from Julian Nagelsmann at the end of the last campaign when Bayern were still dancing at 3 weddings, as they like to say in Germany. However, they got knocked out of the DFB Pokal by Freiburg in the Allianz Arena. They got knocked out of the Champions League by eventual winners and treble winners Manchester City. They did win the Bundesliga, but they have their sights set on more this season, as Leroy Sané's first few touches of a ball do provide menace. Goretzka not giving up on the chance. Bayern try and pinch with the press, but do force a mistake out of the Monaco side as they play it out for a throw-in. Monaco had some bright moments in the first half, but they were few and far between. Bayern dominating possession, really stifling their attacking intent, and ultimately there Van der Sar letting himself down as the move peters out for Monaco. Davies now trying to go through the gears, just couldn't thread the needle to come on. In fact, it's Tuchel since taking over at Bayern. If you look at his record in all competitions, 6 wins, 2 draws, 4 losses, a 50% win rate. By Bayern standards, that's not good enough. Yes, he took over in difficult circumstances at the business end of the season. Golovin caught by Gnabry there, and foul given against Serge Gnabry. Oh yeah, it was the second one, wasn't it? The first one was actually quite a fair challenge from Gnabry, but he took a little second snap at the heels there of Golovin and ended up raking the back of the calf. I mean, no matter what you make of Sven Ulreich and the new Bayern goalkeeping kit, you've got to think it's a bit of a distraction for strikers that might be bearing down on goal to see a flash of pink running out at you in a potential one-on-one situation. Certainly catches the eye. For now, some defending to do. One off the training ground, perhaps from Monaco. It is. Oh, it worked out well, and the chance was there. The offside flag has stayed down. They did everything right, except the finish there, the visitors. Had everyone guessing, when were they going? I'll tell you what, the chance was there. Maripan, that could have got his head on the delivery. It's Min Jae Kim now showing a nice turn of pace when put under pressure. Look at this, a very ambitious press from Monaco. Maybe that was a message from Adi Hütter during the half-time break, because Bayern clearly have the intent of playing their way through the lines from the back. Tuchel wants to see them test themselves in tight spaces with the pressure on. He doesn't want to see them resorting to lazy, easy passes. It was maybe one of the slight criticisms he had when he took over, was that some players were a little too accustomed to having too much time on the ball, and they needed to be more accustomed to working in tight spaces where ultimately Bayern can prove themselves the most against a deep-lying back line, which is what they face more often than not over the course of an entire campaign. For now, Monaco leaving a bit of space in behind to exploit. Gnabry sees Leroy Sané. Sané finds Mathys Tel. Mathys Tel strikes! Oh, it's off the bar. And the post denying Mathys Tel. Gnabry trying to keep the chance alive. And in the end, the chance for Bayern comes to nothing. Well, they played it out well, the counter, you have to say. A matter of inches in it for Mathys Tel. A wicked deflection on the shot. Took a bit of pace off the ball, but Philip Kern was well beaten. The upright stood firm. And it remains just 3-1 to Bayern, as now Vanderson is sent on a run. Bit of a mismatch in terms of pace against Alphonso Davies, but then everyone is. Few players in world football. There are a few players in the world, or people in the world, that can match the pace of Alphonso Davies. And let's be honest, most of them are Olympic sprinters. Oh, Kim read the danger well there. Timed the challenge to perfection. I tell you, with the exception of that one terrible pass, I mean, it was terrible pass in the first half that led to Monaco scoring the opening goal. I tell you, Min Jae Kim has had a virtually flawless performance other than that. And I don't know who's going to be the centre-back pairing on Saturday when Bayern take on the cup winners RB Leipzig in the DFL Super Cup. Of course, as a result, Bayern and Leipzig not in action in the DFB Pokal first round, which takes place this weekend. Games on Friday, Saturday, Sunday and Monday. Bayern and Leipzig, though, on account of the fact that they're playing the Super Cup on Saturday, will have to wait until September to play their first round fixtures. Leipzig, the two-time back-to-back winners, taking on Wien Wiesbaden. Second-tier side. Meanwhile, it's Preußen Münster that Bayern will travel to as they look to mount another push to win the DFB Pokal, which they haven't won in the last 3 seasons. It's a bit of a barren spell for Bayern in that competition. They were knocked out in the second round of the competition in back-to-back seasons. Holstein Kiel and then Borussia Mönchengladbach handing them that fate. Meanwhile, last season it was the round of 16 where they lost to Freiburg, a side that had never won in the Allianz Arena but managed to do so last season to knock Bayern out of the DFB Pokal. And Vanderson, a bit disappointed that his teammates weren't able to make more of that promising press that he produced. Vanderson round the corner for Minamino. Scorer of the opening goal here in Unterhaching, where the rain has held off despite some dicey looking grey clouds in the background. It's fair to say we're not quite enjoying the height of summer here in Bavaria right now. The weather has been a little bit more unpredictable in recent weeks. Speaking of unpredictable, Monaco were looking to be a little bit unpredictable in their build-up there. Bayern, though, did well just to hold their ground. This is a side that kept 11 clean sheets in the Bundesliga last season, 20 clean sheets in all competitions. Thomas Tuchel earlier this summer had talked about Manuel Neuer maybe making a return in August, but it wouldn't be in time to feature in the Super Cup or on match day 1. And the problem is, for Manuel Neuer and for Bayern, it's been a slight setback in his recovery because he's certainly not 100% yet. But he did have to go under the knife again last Sunday, but it was a planned operation because it was to remove a little bit of metal from his right fibula. So he has picked up his rehab on his road to recovery. I think it's fair to say, though, Manuel Neuer will want to get back in action as quickly as possible. Bayern, Thomas Tuchel, I reckon they will want to take as many precautionary measures as they can with their number one, because the headache that ensued on account of his injury last season is one they will want to avoid in the current campaign if possible. There has been talk about them maybe signing another goalkeeper. Jan Sommer right now is in Milan to maybe complete a move to Inter as Minamino strikes, and all right, oh, what a save that was at full stretch to keep Bayern 2 goals in front. Well, he has conceded, Sven Ulreich, but he is giving a wonderful account of himself, maybe telling Bayern's bosses and Thomas Tuchel, hey, you don't need to sign another goalkeeper. I'm here. I'm ready to stand in when Manuel Neuer is out injured. And he has done a fine job when called upon, Sven Ulreich, in recent seasons. He's a wonderful servant for the club. It's not easy to be happy playing second fiddle to Manuel Neuer. Many goalkeepers haven't been able to accept that role. Sven Ulreich seems to be thriving in it. And now the counter, oh, that's really not a nice sight, actually, from camera. Cynical, tactical foul. He shrugs his shoulders and said, well, what do you want me to do? I had to stop you somehow. But he was beaten here. Sané was beyond him, and there you can see there was no attempt to play the ball. It was just take him down. Stop Bayern in their tracks. Mission accomplished for Mohamed Kamara, but he does pick up a yellow card for his decision, and rightly so, it has to be said. Again, all right, constantly looking for those little passes into Laimer and Goretzka. They have to drop deep. They are being shadowed closely by Monaco players. As a result, a lot of times we've seen them have to produce a backwards pass as opposed to be able to turn in midfield. We're starting to see, though, the little things that identify how Thomas Tuchel has tweaked things compared to Julian Nagelsmann. You can see similarities in the approach, but he's got clear ideas that Bayern are trying to execute out on the pitch. Min-jae Kim, it's another errant pass there from the South Korean. Maybe one too many risks on occasion, and Sven Ulreich says just calm it down a little bit. Monaco are really being very ambitious in their press, it has to be said, which is the type of approach Bayern won't face all too often during the season. Nevertheless, a very interesting test in what is their final dress rehearsal before the competitive action gets underway this season. For now, Sané again has a bit of pace to work with. Oh, he looked to thread the needle for Kingsley Coman and just unable to do so. Bayern trying to work the channels when afforded the opportunities. Need to be a little bit more clinical with their passing in the final third. But the constant probing from this Bayern side must be absolutely exhausting for an opponent, and Monaco may be feeling the effects of that despite how high they're playing up the pitch. Interesting, they really are almost inviting the pressure here a bit, Bayern, to test themselves. Can we let a team come onto us and then break the lines to then find the space to break in transition? And look at this, Davies to Laimer, Laimer to Gnabry, Goretzka now looking for the run of Leroy Sané in behind, and it was all smoothly kicking into gear there for Bayern. Okay, the final pass doesn't come out, but I tell you what, those are the moments this evening where we really have seen Bayern show signs of exactly what they're going to be capable of next season. I mean, it's not to say that we didn't know either. We were well aware that Bayern are a talented side that could play some incredibly eye-catching, fast-paced, fluid football. But that got lost a little bit somewhere last year, in amongst the dominance, in amongst the unwanted negative headlines. Something got lost in the swagger of this side. And maybe that's the thing that Thomas Tuchel needs to rediscover, more than the tactical nuances out on the pitch, is to get these players playing with a swagger again, that feeling of invincibility that every game they take to, that they might win 4, 5, 6-0 if you're not careful. That got lost last season. It's not always easy to do that in games against the likes of Paris Saint-Germain or Manchester City in the Champions League, but my goodness, they have to have that aspiration of at least commanding that aura when they take to the pitch, even against the big teams. And moments like that, unfortunately, are why they lost their swagger a bit. Goretzka giving the ball away cheaply. Vanderson now with a chance to strike. Big block from Min-jae Kim. Minamino goes down in the box. It is going to be a penalty. He got clipped. Monaco with a chance to make it 3-2 and reduce the arrears just past the hour mark. And it might go from bad to worse for Bayern if Davies has... Oh, no, he hasn't picked up an injury. He just took a ball to the crown jewels, which is never a pleasant experience for any player, especially when he wasn't expecting it like that. But here you can see Mazraoui. Well, he stepped on the foot of Minamino. I don't think he meant it, Mazraoui. But the contact was there. It was clear. And Robert Hartmann, the referee, wasn't going to do anything but point to the spot there. Davies still walking a little gingerly, the Canadian, unfortunately. Gets a nod that he's coming off now and a thumbs up from him. I'm sure he won't say no to that after what he just went through. But Bayern, twice this afternoon, the makers of their own downfall. First guilty party was Min Jae Kim. This time it was Leon Goretzka. The first mistake produced the opening goal for Takumi Minamino. Will the second mistake produce Monaco's second as they look to move back within a goal of this Bayern side? For now, there are a couple changes being made. Josip Stanisic coming on, as too is Franz Kretzig, the youngster who made such a name for himself with that stunning winner against Liverpool. All of a sudden his name was in all the headlines. All of a sudden his name was being linked to second-tier clubs looking for a loanee. And the young 20-year-old left-back now on for the closing stages. Well, since closing stages, just under half an hour left as Wissam Ben Yedder is stood over the penalty to make it 3-2. Sent all right the wrong way, and Monaco moves back to within a goal and once again punish Bayern for a mistake made. Well, 77% chance if you're a fan of expected goals when looking at a penalty. So Sven Ulreich is the underdog. Wissam Ben Yedder, a very accomplished striker with a wealth of experience and using it all there to send Sven Ulreich the wrong way. Man who is approaching his 300th appearance in Liga this season, Wissam Ben Yedder. 145 goals in 288 appearances in France's top league, with Monaco 98 goals in 167 outings. So a couple of big milestones beckoning for Wissam Ben Yedder this season. Something tells me he'll break them both. Time is the call from the sidelines. Noticed that there was a change that I missed as well. Daya Upamecano has come on to replace Min Jae Kim. Saw the fact that Kretzig and Stanisic had come on for Davies and Mazraoui. Gravenberch has also entered the fray, so it was a host of changes. We just didn't really get sight of them all there as they were made. Serge Gnabry, it looks like, has come off the pitch as well, the man who scored Bayern's third this afternoon. Nice turn by Coman, but Vanderson closed down the angles. Coman has stayed down. Again, there's the last thing that Bayern and Thomas Tuchel want to see is any of their players picking up injuries. We get confirmation of all those substitutions that happened. I believe it was 4 in total. I'll correct myself if I notice the mistake. But just a reminder, the players that have come on: Daya Upamecano, Josip Stanisic, Ryan Gravenberch, Franz Kretzig. Here is Gravenberch, Kretzig on the run as well. Here he is. A little loose first touch, but he gets away with it, trying to get it back to Gravenberch. He has talked about wanting to stake his claim under Thomas Tuchel, Franz Kretzig, but the question is whether that's the right idea. He's going to have a tough time breaking in on that left-back role with Guerrero and Davies ahead of him, no matter whether Thomas Tuchel is a fan or not of the 20-year-old. And you've got to think then at that point he might be better served going out on loan. A couple of Bundesliga 2 clubs apparently sniffing around his services as well. That's where he'll get game time. The odds of him getting game time at Bayern are slim. And then the question is game time at a club who has less quality in training more beneficial? For now, Gravenberch teeing up the shot, and well, it trickled its way through, but Kern able to collect through the legs with a couple of deflections in there as well. You see the hoarding in the back. Our colours, red and white. Bayern will be wearing a couple of new kits this season, including their new home kit, which I have to say is one of the most eye-catching and enjoyable that I've seen in recent seasons. Hark back to 1965 for now. Kingsley Coman one-on-one with his marker, and he goes into where it's congested. Looks at for Leroy Sané, and it's all the way through into the bottom corner. Well, it wasn't his fiercest strike, it wasn't his most spectacular, but it was just as effective as Bayern restore their 2-goal lead. Don't know whether Philip Kern, the Monaco keeper, just lost his footing at the vital moment, or maybe was unsighted. You thought that Coman had done the wrong thing because he had his man one-on-one and you expected him to take him on and produce a shot on goal. Instead, he turned into a more congested area, but he still had the composure to pick up his head, pick out the man in Leroy Sané. And again, that's a scuffed effort by Leroy Sané standards. Scuffed or not, though, it is Bayern's 4th of the afternoon in Unterhaching. And once again, they have some breathing room to work with. Big save from Ulreich now as Monaco look to respond. With the changes that are being made and the fact that this game will be stretched out a little bit more, expect a flurry of goal-scoring chances in the final 20 minutes here, ladies and gentlemen. For Bayern, this really will be all about managing the game. Kretzig is on the run. He gets the pass from Goretzka. Looking for the early crossfield pass himself. You know what? He had time and space to run into there, Kretzig. He didn't need to rush the pass, but sign of lack of experience from the 20-year-old. Revisit that chance for Kevin Volland. Big save from Sven Ulreich. He stood his ground well. Neat play from Monaco again, and Ben Yedder had men over. Volland still wants it in the middle. Golovin sees his cross deflected into a less dangerous area. Oh, Kevin Volland, always a wonderful player to produce the first line of press. Laimer, though, gives it away. Volland to Camera. Camera turns. You've got to think Monaco will take a lot of confidence as well from the amount of times they have forced mistakes out of this Bayern side with their press. Bayern are one of the most talent-rich sides, seen as having some of the neatest passes in the game, and yet their build-up play has let them down on occasion when the pressure has grown. Adi Hutter, known for being a head coach that preaches an ambitious approach, as long ball for Volland goes nowhere. You can see more changes being readied on the sidelines for Bayern. It was the youngsters there, Alexander Pavlovic and Antonio Tikvic, who were getting ready to come on by the look of things. Well, looks like we're going to have Arion Ibrahimovic join the fray as well, so it's going to be a triple change coming for Bayern with 3 teenagers coming off the bench. Not an easy first touch from Leroy Sané, but it makes it look easy almost. Now to Goretzka. Goretzka strikes! Just wide. He'd like a goal today, wouldn't he, Leon Goretzka? Captaining the side in Joshua Kimmich's absence. So much made of the fact that he seems to have been dropped down the pecking order since Konrad Laimer has joined the club. Tuchel's had to answer questions about it. Goretzka's had to answer questions about it. Kimmich has had to answer questions about it. And that is going to be the final piece of action for Leon Goretzka. Has he done enough to stake a claim for a starting berth against Leipzig? Well, we'll have to wait until next Saturday to find out. But it's Coman, Goretzka and Laimer coming off. Of course, Thomas Tuchel there in the dugout has talked about the fact that he still wants a number 6, which obviously sparked a bit of debate in the Bayern ranks because Joshua Kimmich came out and said, well, I am a number 6. And the fact is, even with that plethora of options in midfield, Thomas Tuchel still looking for a more defensive specialist of a midfielder. It's fair to say that Laimer, Kimmich, Goretzka, they do all have that double-sided sword to their game where they are strong defensively, but also creative linchpins going forward. They love to produce box-to-box moments, love to provide extra numbers when going forward, and maybe Tuchel just wanting someone with a bit more discipline to really hold down the fort and protect the back line. Tuchel has talked about the fact that he wants a core team. He wants a starting lineup that he can start building around. He doesn't want to chop and change as much next season, perhaps. Easier said than done. Kretzig does well. Look at him, gets his head up immediately. Oh, what a ball that is! Franz Kretzig outside of the boot to find Arjan Ibrahimovic. What can the other teenager produce now? Oh, and again Kretzig. And that is why he has caught the eye in pre-season. Ball squirms through to Matisse Tell. Ibrahimovic! Good strike straight at Philip Kern. But the youngsters there heavily involved. Kretzig, Pavlovic, and at the end of it, Ibrahimovic did well to get his strike off, but admittedly the door was partially closed there, so he didn't have a lot of angles to work with. Kretzig now picking it out with the interception. Pass intended for Wassim Ben Yedder. Pavlovic able to turn in midfield. Gravenberch trying to work the channels there, the Dutchman. One of the few Bayern players that was in international action during this summer, of course, with the Dutch under-21 side that got knocked out rather disappointingly in the group stages of the European Championships. Won in the end by England. It's fair to say German international football going through a bit of a downward spiral right now. Many were even hoping that the women's team could salvage a bit of pride, and unfortunately their experience at the Women's World Cup was rather similar to the men's experience in Qatar last winter. Mo Camara certainly made a big impact on this game, namely with some rather hard-hitting challenges on some of the Bayern midfielders in the first half. Not quite as involved in the second. Long ball looking for Van der Sar, and the offside flag is up with Kretzig covering the position. The linesman indicating just how close it was to Van der Sar, but no matter how close it is, it's a black and white decision. And he wasn't wrong, the linesman, but you could see what Van der Sar was trying to do. He just didn't need to overcommit on the early run there. He could have taken his time, actually. He was near the halfway line against Franz Kretzig. 20-year-old talking to Bild recently, saying that he'll concentrate on the things that he can do with the amateurs. He said if something does happen when it comes to a chance with the first team, then it happens, but his main focus, his main task this season remains in helping Bayern's amateur sides. where he has said he wants to play a leading role and play as many games as possible. He feels like that is a better use of his time next season than maybe unsettling himself and going on loan somewhere. Long ball doesn't find the intended target, cut out by Josip Stanisic. With Meccano, closed down by Volland. Kevin Volland, of course, who used to play with Hoffenheim and Bayer Leverkusen in the Bundesliga, so a familiar face. 247 appearances in Germany's top flight during his time with those two clubs before moving to Monaco. Of course, he might be remembered by Bayern fans because when he was on the books at Hoffenheim, he scored the Bundesliga's fastest ever goal against Bayern. Oh, that was a lovely strike and off the par. Leroy Sané just went, well, why not chance my arm? And when you can strike a ball like that, then why not? Had the dip, just not quite enough to get under that crossbar. Kern was beaten all ends up, though, that's for certain. The news in the German press is that Leroy Sané and his team have decided to reassess their options at the end of next season. Feel like they've got a good thing going with Bayern. Thomas Tuchel, if you listen to the way he talks about Leroy Sané, it's incredibly positive, but he's also very critical because I think he sees so much more potential in Leroy Sané. I think he can get even more out of him. He could be even better. And so you'll hear Thomas Tuchel talk about all the wonderful qualities Sané has, but then point out what he could be doing better and better and better. And it would be a very interesting storyline this season to see whether Thomas Tuchel can get the best out of Leroy Sané, because he was showing some real signs of stepping up last season. But it's the decision-making every now and again that just lets him down, and that was one of the things that Tuchel alluded to. That's always part and parcel of pre-season friendlies, several second-half substitutions that you try and keep track of as best possible. Magnus Akiluche is coming on. So too is Malamine Efeleke and Myron Boadu. And the trio who are stripped off and ready to enter the fray. Vanderson coming also to Wissam Ben Yedder, scorer of the second-half penalty for Monaco. And Monaco, well, if they have aspirations of climbing the Liga standings and getting back into Europe at the end of the next campaign, then tell you what, they've got a very good manager in the form of Adi Hütter. Clearly knows what he wants to get out of his teams, and after finishing 6th in Liga last season, they will have their sights set on going at least one better and qualifying for the Europa Conference League. But never an easy thing to assert themselves in Ligue 1, as a cross just goes a little long there for Monaco, the visitors. Of course, it was Lille, Rennes, Marseille, Lens and Paris Saint-Germain, the title winners, that finished above Monaco last season. Well, one more change for Bayern. Mathys Tel. His stock continues to rise in pre-season, even if he didn't get another goal today, but he's replaced by Paul Vanner. The striker debate is one that will continue to rage, I think, with Bayern. Of course, you don't need me to tell you that they've been heavily linked with a move for Tottenham and England captain Harry Kane. That continues to be a roller coaster of a transfer rumour that looks like it might go to the final day of the window, perhaps. Bayern, though, holding firm. They want their man. They believe they're going to get their man. They're willing to be patient to do so. And it may just open the door for someone like Mathys Tel to get a bit of extra game time at the start of the season, especially seeing as Eric Maxim Choupo-Moting, the veteran Cameroonian, is still nursing himself back to full fitness. Tel, several years his junior. Not as many problems with his knees and his back joints. Leroy Sané wins the ball well and has to settle for the corner. I tell you what, he might be injured, but Thomas Müller, ever the fan favourite, ever the entertainer, ever the man of the people. And he knows what it means to these fans that have come out here in Unterhaching. Some that may not get to see Bayern all too often. Corner comes in. Doesn't really pose any problems. Bayern trying to keep the chance alive. Ibrahimovic does well. Easily telegraphed there by Monaco, the pass from Diogo Upamecano. One of the players that had one of the more interesting seasons, and I'm not saying don't necessarily mean that in a positive way for Diogo Upamecano, because it was such a strange trajectory he went on. You'd have thought he was the best centre-back in the world at the World Cup, and he produced performances befitting of that. He was praised to that level. The likes of Julian Nagelsmann, Didier Deschamps, highlighting how far he had come in his development and the standing that he had now. But during the second half of the season, he was a shaky member of that back line for Bayern. Uncharacteristically shaky, I should say, as well. Just felt like his confidence levels took a bit of a knock, and the question was whether he could get back to his best with a full summer and a chance just to recharge the batteries, which, let's be honest, would have been so important to this entire Bayern squad. Whether they're regular internationals or not, the demands of the last couple of seasons have been so great on football players around the world that any chance just to recharge the batteries and reinvest in friends and family in a way that they haven't been able to in recent years, I can only imagine how valuable that would have been for these footballers, these players, these humans, let's be honest, at the end of the day, because they are, after all, just human at the end of the day. And they may be expected to perform at high levels for extended periods of time across a year, but that is only possible if they are in peak mental and physical condition. Physical, you can work on the pitch, you can work it on the training ground, but that mental side of the game is something that often requires a bit of work off the pitch as well. And the feeling was that Bayern, they kind of clawed their way over the line. And I mean that by their standards, because they set such a high bar, don't they, Bayern, when it comes to winning titles, especially over the last 11 years, that when they won it by such a fine margin on the final day of the season, and they needed Dortmund to drop points on the final day of the season to do it, many will classify it as them clawing their way to the title, but the feeling is that they're going to come on even stronger this season. They may even have a point to prove after falling short of their expectations in the previous campaign. And if they do come roaring back, well then, I'll tell you what, the Bundesliga needs to beware. But if they want to win the Champions League as well, then I don't think it's unfair to suggest that they maybe need one or two more signings to give themselves the better chance. Don't get me wrong, this Bayern side at present is capable of going all the way in the Champions League. They're capable of knocking out any team in Europe on their day. But I tell you what, if you add a few more reinforcements in key positions and you add quality reinforcements as well, then they are not far removed from being able to compete with the likes of Real Madrid, with the likes of Manchester City for that European crown. Bayern may be pleased to see one of their big rivals join Real Madrid, Jude Bellingham from Borussia Dortmund. Oh, Stanisic letting it bounce. Not the best option and decision there from Josip Stanisic, but look at that, he does well. Wins the goal kick. Makes up for that minor mistake, Josip Stanisic. Well, Thomas Tuchel, quick sight of him there on the sidelines. Wonder what he'll be making of a performance like this, but something tells me he'll see plenty of positives. But the individual errors that prove so costly for Bayern are exactly the types of things that he wants his side to cut out this season. He is ever the perfectionist, Thomas Tuchel. And something tells me his players will hear about it. Unfortunately, Min Jae Kim, the new summer signing, with a moment to forget, that allowed Takumi Minamino eventually to open the scoring. It admittedly came a minute after the mistake had been made, but the mistake really was the incendiary point of that incident. It was a mistake by Leon Goretzka, who really is trying to stake a claim for a starting berth in midfield alongside Joshua Kimmich, under pressure from Konrad Laimer, who's played and started in every pre-season friendly possible. But now is there one last chance in this game for Bayern. No hint of time added on in this pre-season friendly. And a foul given there against the reigning and record German title holders. Status that just rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? Jan Sommer, I can tell you as well. You know what, hold the thought, because there goes the final whistle. And Bayern have made it 4 wins out of a possible 5 in pre-season as they look to gear up towards another campaign. Thomas Tuchel's first full campaign in charge. And no, this wasn't a perfect performance by any stretch of the imagination in what is their final dress rehearsal before they get competitive action underway against RB Leipzig in the Super Cup next Saturday. But it was a very positive performance from Bayern. They flexed their muscles up front. And while there were costly individual mistakes at the back, they come away with a victory once again. The final score at the Sportpark Unterhaching is Bayern 4, Monaco 2. Thanks for joining us.